Hi, Sandy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the A.D.K channel, and today we're doing an album review of the band Colpocleisis and the new album Elegant Degradation. I won't be taking part in the actual review as I've not reviewed the album, but Kirk and Andy have obviously gone through it in a bit more detail. So I'm just going to throw this over to Kirk first. Over to you.
Yeah, this was Andy's choice when you were given a list and you decided you wanted to review a brutal death metal slam record. It disappointed me somewhat because it's a genre, probably my least favorite genre in extreme metal, because it's often so formulaic. It's just chugging, down-picking guitar riffs with blast beats and grotesque vocals. This one from Colpocleisis from Liverpool surprised me. I actually enjoyed elements of this. When I listen to a brutal death metal album or a BDM album, if I'm looking at it at a score chart of 10, it instantly starts at a 3. Thinking it should be able to get up to a 5 after 7 songs. So this one hovered around 6 and 7 for most of it, and I'll tell you the reason why. So the first 2 songs, Degrade and Discombobulated, there's not a blast beat in sight. It is just really aggressive, downward chugging, and these vocals that sound like a man flossing and gargling when he's using an electric toothbrush and he's got the mouthwash in there. It's one of those. It's like when you watch a horror film and it'll show someone stab a victim in the eye and instantly you squirm, don't you? It's like that with these vocals. You listen to what he's doing, you just think you are going to do immense damage to your throat. So in some ways, again, performance art, he's putting his health on the line for art. So I do respect that. To me, it gets a bit more chaotic from track number 4 onwards, Toxoplasmosis. Then you do start hearing these weird, high-tuned blast beats. And I would just describe the intro as that song as pure chaos. And then it does that all the way up to track 8, where they settle on this formula where the first 20 seconds will just be pulverizing, grinding riffs, guitars, a really loud bass in there as well, and then just these pummeling drum snares, and then they quickly settle into that dun 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 dun, and the drums will be speeding them up and throwing in snare hits occasionally where you don't expect them. So even though it is formulaic, this is actually quite listenable, and it's also enjoyable. Andy, you'll have noticed this. Towards the end, every song seems to start with a sample from a film or a drama or even a sitcom. For example, the song called Colpocleisis, and that starts with a sample from, do you remember that Channel 4 comedy Peep Show?
Yeah.
It starts with a sample from that. And then the next song, Do Not Resuscitate, starts with a sample of Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
So you do have these moments to break it up, but I've got to say, as with any slam record, once you get to track number 7, you're just waiting for it to end. There's not really, there's not going to be any variation. So my challenge to bands, practitioners of this genre, how fun would it be if you could have like progressive brutal death metal, avant-garde brutal death metal, mix it up a bit, be experimental. But yeah, this is a lot more lively than some of the shit that I've had to listen to over the last 3 years. Honestly, I get sent this stuff all the time, and I'll listen to one BDM album a month, and that's it. That's my first share. That first Suffocation album from 1991. There's a song on there called Legion Veracity. That's where they trace the origins of slam, brutal death metal to this one. You could call it a breakdown riff. And from there you've got Deeds of Flesh and Cryptopsy, and then after that you really don't need to listen to anything else. But these Scousers, these Liverpudlians, this is not a bad job. This is far better than I expected.
Andy, what about yourself? What did you think?
I picked you off the list that was put our way. I have got the previous album, Fallopian Fallout. What surprised me about this one, although there's not a huge development or probably zero development in the style of songs, there is a bit more of a serious nature, particularly if you sort of use the samples as an example. There's a Peep Show one, but the rest of them sound a little bit more from serious genres of entertainment to sort of introduce the songs rather than sort of the comedic element. I mean, last time out we had like the Chuckle Brothers introducing a song, various clips from a from that series cobbled together to make some sort of cowboy reference, which was quite entertaining. But yeah, this is quite sort of generic of this style. It's got that riff that you hear all the time, dun, 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 you know, and the pinch harmonics, which I'm not a huge fan of. The vocals, a lot of the time it's almost spoken word with an effect on it, which doesn't seem too impressive to me. But there are elements where either the vocalist is changing his style or there's some guests involved or other members of the band, particularly on the track you mentioned, Kirk, Toxoplasmosis, which as I did, you look it up if you want to find out yourself, Google it. But I'm surprised you didn't pick up on it. What I did was, before I listened to the sort of preview link that was sent to us, I listened to the singles that they've got on Spotify, and the first one was it Flagellating at the Slab?
Yeah, Flagellating at the Slab.
Flagellating, that's the word. I guess I found out later on, or worked out later on, it's the snare sound. You know, it's what Slipknot use, and it mate he's smacking a beer barrel with a baseball bat. I thought that's interesting. You don't hear that very often. I thought perhaps it's just a little thing just to throw into one song, but they carried that out throughout the whole album, and that you know, Dave, you're a drummer. I'm sure you might have heard the bit of this album. You can elaborate, but what do you think of that, Kurt? The sort of metallic snare sound that was throughout this album.
So I'm a fan of that in this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. To me, this is that was certainly one of the features that comes through in this album, isn't it? Like Lars Ulrich on say Anger, the metallic rock.
But it's worse than that.
No, I would say it's a bit more tasteful. They know what they're doing here, whereas Lars Ulrich didn't have a clue, did he?
Right.
So it doesn't quite sound like a bunch of idiots with access to electricity and pots and pans. There's a clear rhythmic expertise here from the drummer. So I did like, it's really basically a really high tuned snare, Dave. I mean, really high tuned.
Yeah.
What even a jazz drummer would play. And yeah, it does, to some people, the untrained ear, and it does probably actually sound like you've got a wooden spoon and you're playing it on the back of a cooking pot. But yeah, I mean, Flagellating at the Slab I enjoyed, because that one, I thought they went for a more old school death metal sound on that, even though it's really low tuned, the guitar. There was a lot more alternate palm muting in that, whereas there's just an overkill, isn't there, of downward chugging by the end of it. I mean, I love palm muted guitars, but you can have too much of it, and here, this is the problem with the genre. It's just fucking, you lose interest, don't you, for the last few songs. Did you find that was happening with you?
I think so, yeah. It was like, there's 3 singles on Spotify, which I played once through, then I've done the album. But, you know, unlike most reviews, once was enough for me to get everything I needed to sort of relay regarding this album. I mean, I will go back to it, but for review purposes, you don't need to spend, the 3 or 4 listens, which is what I usually do. But, I mean, it's again, like the black metal album we reviewed recently, it's got all the elements you need for an album from this genre. You know, the vocals, those riffs you described, the samples, and the good use of sort of solo bass lines as well. Mid song, for example. But yeah, it's what you'd expect from the band, having heard the previous album, and what you'd expect from this genre.
Yeah, I'll just touch on that, Dave. Sorry, yeah, the bass player, some excellent work in there. There's some like slapping and popping techniques in that song. Do Not Resuscitate. No, because Dave, you don't normally hear that in slam or brutal death metal, and he's just filling the gaps amongst the guitar syncopation at times. So yeah, that does deserve praise. There's actually quite a lot of imagination, isn't there, in the bass work.
Okay, so it's down to scoring time. So is it a bin it, trade it, stream it, or buy it? Obviously, I'm not voting on this one this week. So, Kirk, yourself?
Well, it's brutal death metal, so I'm going to trade it. But I will say that this is one of the more enjoyable albums I've listened to over the last 3 years. I'm like you, Andy. I only needed to listen to it once, really, to get a grasp for it and review it. And I don't really envisage myself going back to this. It's not bad. It's just I don't like this genre of music.
What about yourself, Andy? What would you say on this one?
I'll stream it again, but as we discussed, it's not an album you can listen to start to finish. I'll pick out the odd tracks, put it on rotating playlist of sorts. But yeah, stream it for me.
Fair enough. Well, it means it's an undisclosed or unconclusive decision from the channel today, because I can't even give you a tiebreaker because it's not fair for me to do that.
Go with stream it then, because I did enjoy.
Okay, there we go.
I enjoyed 2/3 of this, so yeah, go with stream it.
Stream it. Okay, so it's a stream it from the channel there for Colpocleisis and Elegant Degradation. Now, if you like this reaction or review, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the video sometime very soon. Take care.